The following half-hour show is a paid political program and is not endorsed by this station, management, or staff.
The following program is brought to you by Excalibur Insurance Management Services.
On today's show, we turn to the state of Pennsylvania, where there has been a 4-month impasse over enacting a budget that has hamstrung the government since the June 30th deadline. Of course, while not as comprehensively destructive as the federal government shutdown was in Washington, it was nonetheless very painful for millions of Pennsylvania citizens, especially the most vulnerable who depend on state benefits, as well as school districts and other local governments who literally were in a position to take loans and pay interest to manage a stopgap funding source until they can agree on a budget in Pennsylvania. Unlike the federal government, where the Democrats capitulated and got nothing, the state put on a clinic of bipartisanship. The Democrats got much-needed public school funding, as well as an increase in spending that they had wanted for favorite projects. And the Republicans achieved their elephant in the room, no pun intended, the elimination of the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, otherwise known as RGGI, that was foisted on this Commonwealth by former loathsome Democratic Governor Tom Wolf. Putting Pennsylvania into RGGI while decimating Pennsylvania's economy was like throwing a drowning man an anchor. To discuss the bipartisan budget deal are two major participants: the majority leader of the Pennsylvania Senate, Republican Senator Joe Pittman, and our very own Pennsylvania Senator Lisa Baker, who serves with the majority leader on the Republican leadership team in Harrisburg as the caucus administrator, as well as the coveted and important chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Senator Leader Pittman hails from Indiana County in western Pennsylvania, where he graduated from Purchase Line High School before earning his bachelor's degree in political science from the Pennsylvania State University. Senator Lisa Baker is from Luzerne County, graduating from Dallas Area High School before earning her Bachelor of Arts degree in Government Administration from Shippensburg. Senator Baker has recently received a great honor as being inducted into the Daughters of the American Revolution. She is a generational related descendant, 8 times removed, from Lieutenant Henry Stover, who was a member of the Pennsylvania militia in the 5th Battalion of Lancaster under Colonel Jacob Platts. So she will play a prominent role as we head into 2026, which of course is the 250th anniversary of the founding of America, the greatest country ever and on the planet. So having said all that, we look forward to today's show because we will discuss the backroom deals and how the deal got done and what it means, importantly, for the future of Pennsylvania in the energy sector, especially with the requirements that AI and data centers will need in terms of electricity and power, which we will need to untap Pennsylvania's great energy might, the second largest energy producer, remember, in the country. So it should be an interesting show.
This is the Volpe Report, a weekly news and political interview show examining the latest local, state, and national issues with Chuck Volpe. Insightful, informative, controversial, the area's premier political talk show, the Volpe Report.
Senator, first of all, welcome to the show, Majority Leader Senator Joe Pittman, and of course, my good friend and our great senator and member of your leadership team right here in northeastern Pennsylvania. So I personally welcome you, Senator Lisa Baker, to the show. Lisa has been in this studio probably just a few short months ago, and Joe has actually been a regular guest, got maybe 4 times or a few, and which I'm thrilled to have you. And the reason I needed, first of all, a break because for the last 6 straight weeks, I've been hitting the federal level over the government shutdown, and just, Senator McCormick was here, your colleague and my good friend, Congressman Muser was here, Congressman Rob Bresnahan was here, talking about and re-talking about the government shutdown, which went historically 45 days. All during that time, I reminded our viewers that there was another impasse going on, not quite getting the level of publicity, because it didn't quite cause the level of pain, although you may disagree. We'll talk about that part of the 4-month government impasse over the budget, the deadline being June 30th for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and we didn't have a budget 4 months and counting. I would say, I don't know what point of history or how long that was, but I remember, and I know you two would remember well, that in Governor Tom Wolf's first term, that went on interminably a long time as well. I don't know if it got to 4 months, but it's necessary we talk about him because when this got settled, finally, after this lengthy 4-month impasse, one of the things that the Republicans achieved, which I believe is a great victory, not only a victory in this budget to then be forgotten, a victory for the future of Pennsylvania, because there was no more danger to the future and economic prosperity of Pennsylvania than when Governor Wolf put us into Reggie in, I believe, 2019. And that battle has been raging for 6 years. And the courts, including Commonwealth Court of Pennsylvania, had said what we all know in this show that it was. It was a tax. And taxes are the purview of the legislature by the Pennsylvania Constitution, which means he usurped the legislative power, which he did numerous times during his tenure. But having said that, that was a great victory. So talk a little bit, and I'm going to start with the majority leader, rank, seniority, and all that good stuff, Senator, to talk about, and then, of course, your comment, how we finally got this done. Senator Pittman.
Thanks, Chuck. Just call me Joe. It's great to be on your show again. And Lisa, good to see you remotely. Lisa is a great friend and colleague, and I have to tell you, she has probably the most complex job in the Senate as chair of the Judiciary Committee. Extraordinarily nuanced, complicated committee, and we're lucky to have her serving as the chair. But as you said, Chuck, this has been a 6-year ordeal as it relates to Reggie. And I call Reggie an anvil that's been hanging over the head of every consumer of electricity in this Commonwealth, but just as importantly, every family that gets a family-sustaining job from the production of electricity in this Commonwealth. And we were able to remove it. Our caucus has been united on this issue since day one. We were able to negotiate it as part of a product in our budget that was not a perfect budget. Our budget's a product of divided government. And yes, it spent more than I personally would prefer, and I think pretty much every member of our caucus would have preferred, but we recognize the value of removing that anvil from the heads of every consumer and family-sustaining job in this Commonwealth. And what I'm so happy about, Chuck, is it wasn't just a victory for our economy and what drives our economy, which is energy production, but it was also an important check on the executive because we actually abrogated a regulation that was attempted to be implemented unilaterally by our former executive and embraced by our current executive. And it also allows that Commonwealth Court ruling you referred to continue to stand as precedent.
Again, congratulations, leader. Wonderful. And now, as we will for the show, because I'm so fortunate to have both of you and Lisa in studio, as you correctly state, so I will say for the viewers of Northeast and Central Pennsylvania that this media market covers, that there is no harder working senator that do the unseen work for the people of Pennsylvania. She's at all the events that I go to, and a lot of those I don't mean just political partisan. I mean like the Cancer Institute and other nonpartisan events. She lends her support, and the money she brings back to her district, sometimes lost in all the shuffle with all of the federal partisanship and acrimony that goes on. Sometimes you can lose track of all the good work our senators are doing in Pennsylvania for us. Your comments, Lisa, from your view of what this budget impasse was, and we talked about the great accomplishment that you won in your battle, the elimination of Reggie, but talk about the process yourself.
Well, kudos to Leader Pittman. Joe has been a longtime friend and advocate for Pennsylvania, and this is a huge win for Northeastern Pennsylvania and all of the Commonwealth. And as he mentioned, it not only says we're open for business, the fact that we eliminate Reggie, we get permit reform, we focus on the things that matter most here, energy production. Our labor force will be working to create pipelines, and the need for baseload energy is so crucial. We are blessed, as you know, here in northeastern Pennsylvania with some of the highest production gas, natural gas, in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. This means our gas will be utilized and we will be getting it to market. So we need pipelines, we need energy production, we need our labor to all come to the table. What a huge win for us, all led by Leader Pittman, doing yeoman's work on behalf of the Commonwealth. So you think about what it means to our energy consumers, we're saving them money as well. Big win, and a win for Pennsylvania, saying, look, we're open for business. We're ready to get it done.
Well said. And the other thing that you deal with in Pennsylvania, obviously, to probably a larger degree, the federal government deals with it. We are now facing, as you're both well aware, and it's going to determine the outcome of the midterms. That has impact for you guys in the General Assembly as well as in Congress, because there's a one vote Democratic majority in the House of Representatives of Pennsylvania. So those House seats that all come up next year are critical. And the untold damage that would be done if the Democrats take the United States House of Representatives, we will be, instead of anything getting done and work for the people of this great country and carrying out the president's agenda that's been so successful, what we're going to get are impeachment after impeachment and nonsense and all that. And the reason I segue to that is there is going to be no more important issue than affordability. Affordability will be a key for all of us, you in the state, as well as our friends in the federal level. So my view that what never got enough attention, I think we can agree that the trillions and trillions that the Biden administration, over Democratic objections like Charlie Summer, the former Secretary of the Treasury to Obama, said, don't do it. You're going to get recession. You're going to get inflation. He still did it. That was clearly a big part of it. But no one talked about the energy cutbacks that were a big part of it. Product comes to market by energy, whether by boat, by ship, by our Teamsters in that union and long haul trucking. They bring, and if they can't get gasoline and the gasoline is 40 or 50% higher, that gets laid right off onto the consumer. So energy production and the elimination of RGGI, I believe, will be a significant thing going forward to help with the affordability. So let me talk to you again, Mr. Leader, about your thoughts on, now that you've got this behind us, what are going to be the immediate impacts for Pennsylvania?
Affordability is the key, Chuck. And as you pointed out, energy drives inflation. And the more we can produce responsibly megawatts and our natural gas and coal resources, the better off we as a nation are. And when you look at where we've come on RGGI, but also what Lisa said about permitting reform, to me, this budget is a 1-2 punch in terms of economic opportunity in this Commonwealth. Now, both of those reforms are not going to occur overnight in terms of their immediate impact, but we chose to take a long-term view in the budget that we just concluded. And a big reason for that is our fundamental demographics as a Commonwealth. You know, our fastest growing age demographic in this state is the 85 plus community. Our high school graduating population continues to decline. And so when you think about not just energy as a driver of inflation, the other driver of inflation is labor. And when your workforce is shrinking, and whenever your population that relies on government services is increasing, that is a trajectory that we cannot sustain. And that's a big reason why we chose to go down the path in a divided government and a negotiated product to accept a little more spending for two huge reforms in RGGI and permitting.
Well said. And your comment?
Well, I agree with Joe. The idea that we potentially can unlock the natural gas here in northeastern Pennsylvania to create more baseload energy will translate to a positive for all of my constituents here in northeastern Pennsylvania. We need baseload energy. That has been that we've lacked that investment. And so we're open for business. We're going to pursue that. We need the pipelines to get the gas. Susquehanna and Wyoming County have the highest production numbers across this Commonwealth, and it's underfoot. Look at Procter & Gamble. They use natural gas, homegrown natural gas in their own facility, wow. and that is their production. They're off the Gulf of Mexico pipeline. We need more manufacturers to be drawn to utilizing our homegrown gas. So working with this policy shift will be a huge plus and a positive for all of us.
Before we go to break, our first segment, and I'll turn to the leader for a second back and then to you, Lisa. Another thing that now, again, is a direct segue result of this great victory with the elimination of Reggie. Right now, the future and the cutting edge, and it's happening right now, are data centers. AI is the future, and we need to be part of that future. We need to be among the leaders of that future. And I heard a number, I can't swear to its accuracy. Normally, I have a specific site. I'm a lawyer, so they teach you that in law school. But I did hear someone, a reliable source. It could have been Senator Dave McCormick. But if the numbers, if I vaguely remember, we have something like 45 data centers right now in Pennsylvania in that range. And Ohio has 330. Or it was one of the contiguous states, if it wasn't Ohio. But the point of the matter is that right now, AI, one thing we all know for sure, it's a major sucker of it needs electricity, it needs energy. Much, much, much greater than anything that's come before in terms of computer and social programming and all of the other things. We lived in a world with Microsoft and Apple and all of the above. Well, there was a certain energy requirement, significant. Then AI comes along and it's just about tripled. So you need gas, you need oil, fossil fuel, and all of those things, and coal, that produced enough electricity to sustain that. So I like your comment, and then we'll talk maybe, I'll first go to the leader and then come back to our senator here, Lisa Baker, because there's two issues for me, one of which is regulation and regulation in its terms of zoning. Because you and I both know those fights are going on all over this region. Every time they pick a site, a senator for Mr. Leader, for a data center, there ends up being tie-ups in litigation and NIMBY, basically NIMBY. Everybody wants it. They want all the AI abilities, just not in their backyard. Well, pretty soon there's a backyard everywhere. So first start with you, Joe.
That's a great setup to the whole issue, Chuck. Lisa and I talk about this on a regular basis, recognizing how similar our regions are. And you know the Southwestern region, Chuck, as well as anybody. There's a lot of similarities between the Northeast and Southwest. And so we're both dealing with not only data center developments, but also power plant developments. And for me, the fundamental takeaway on the data center evolution is twofold. One, we cannot let China outpace us. We cannot let our foreign adversaries outpace us. And secondly, we have to bring supply in line with the demand that's coming. And we can't stop it. We shouldn't stop it. We need to make sure it's done responsibly. But I see it in my region with the Homer City power plant redevelopment. We're on the verge of building the largest natural gas plant in the country. And it's being built to drive a data center campus here in Indiana County. And that is being repeated over and over again throughout the state. And I know that's a similar challenge to the Northeast, but we got to figure out a way to embrace it, but to do it smartly and to do it with input to make sure we understand all of the impacts to communities as they come online.
Right. And in your comments?
I think Joe hit the nail on the head. It is a national security issue for the Commonwealth, for our country. We need to be smart about how we develop it. And here in northeastern Pennsylvania, we have a lot of abandoned coal land and other land not being utilized. I think we should focus our efforts on transforming those kind of lands initially. Bring the gas in. We have the ability to do that. There are gas production plants being considered throughout my district on abandoned coal land. Now's the time to demonstrate that's the right location instead of picking a greenfield that brings all of the community up in arms. Focus on the land that hasn't been utilized and let's get the development started and show the success We can transform that. We can transform the communities, and we do it in a smart, responsible way.
Well, I think there will be nothing, as you both have said, if you lumped one issue where it covers national security, to both of your points, economic prosperity for Pennsylvania, jobs, and all of the above for Pennsylvania into one issue that touches every base, there's no more important issue. We're going to take a short break, and then we will come back for the final segment of the show.
There are more places you can see the Volpe Report. Watch every Sunday morning at 10:30 on Fox 56 or watch on YouTube at the Volpe Report. More ways to watch. Still the same premier political talk show dedicated to the topics that matter most to Pennsylvanians.
Welcome back, Majority Leader Joe Pittman, and also leader of that caucus. And what exact committee is your title?
I am chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee and Majority Caucus Administrator.
Caucus Administrator, yeah. You're working on, in your capacity in the important chair position of the Pennsylvania Judiciary Committee of the Senate, you're working on an issue that we spent last more like 10 or 15 minutes talking about AI and all of the wonderful opportunities that presents, more so from a regulatory and an energy component. Now let's talk about it from a component I had not thought about, because like everything else, I guess it's the yin and the yang. There's the flip side to everything. Even good things have a flip side that aren't so good. So with that, Senator, go ahead.
What we've been working on is protecting Pennsylvania's children. We know that AI can transform our industries, can do much to advance our economy, but we're also finding that we're catching up on the laws to protect children when AI-generated, especially child sexual abuse materials, are part of it. And so we've been working diligently as a caucus to advance laws and protections for Pennsylvania's kids. If there is a deep fake that is made using AI, that now can be charged through a district attorney. Previously, because it wasn't a real child, we didn't have the ability to go after people utilizing AI and child sexual abuse materials. Most recently, just this past week, the Senate adopted legislation that says mandated reporters must contact Childline when AI or deep fakes are being used, even if it's a minor. And that goes to a situation that occurred at Lancaster Country Day School. They had 50 girls who had sexual images of their bodies using their faces by a classmate. Not only did the school not report it, the kids could not be charged. So now we're saying, let's hold people accountable, let's protect our kids, and let's ensure that we are shutting the door on harming our young people.
Comment, Joe?
I would just say that, as I said in the beginning, we're fortunate to have Lisa as the chair of the Judiciary Committee among her other leadership roles. But at the end of the day, the Senate only works as well as the standing committees, and the chairs of those committees work to bring good products to the floor for the consideration of the full Senate. And there's no more complicated committee, you just heard why, in the Senate than the Judiciary Committee. And I'm just thankful that Lisa is a friend and a colleague that chairs that committee, because one thing I can tell you, when she has committee meetings and those bills are reported out to the floor, we know they're vetted, we know they're considered, we know the stakeholders are involved, and we know they're ready for prime time.
Well said. And just a couple of just minor points. Sometimes my own ignorance knows no bounds. So I'll assume there may be a few other knuckleheads out there like me. Explain for our audience that may not know, when you say deep fakes, I never heard that term before. So talk about deep fakes and how AI, the proliferation, all the good things we need also comes with that dark side. So what are deep fakes and what are you talking about?
So deep fakes are taking an image of a child and creating it using AI. And Senator Tracy Pennycook and I have been partnering on this. She chairs our Communications and Technology Committee. And kudos to her leadership on this issue as well. But think about it, you don't necessarily have a live child, but you have a deep fake, potentially a picture you take out of the newspaper, superimpose sexual materials with it, and it could be your grandchild's birthday picture, and they're creating a deep fake. So these are things we need to help advance and give the law enforcement community the tools to go after individuals. If they're looking at deep fakes, the potential of them harming and going after children is very, very apparent.
I mean, it would sound to me like we have an ongoing, to me, epidemic that still we have to be vigilant about bullying. Teen and youth suicides are the highest they've ever been in the history of the world, in the history of the United States, not just Pennsylvania, all over the country. And one of the movers in that is the advent of social media and Facebook and all of the things. So would that be another way you could bully somebody through?
Absolutely. That's what happened with Lancaster Country Day.
That's why I was asking.
Think about those kids. And now under the bill that we just advanced unanimously through the Senate, it will go after even minors who utilize that technology to harm one of their classmates or someone else.
Would it be too much to hope, Joe, that we can get a complete bipartisan support and a governor's signature on this? I would think we're talking about a bipartisan. This should be like 50-0 in the Senate and 203-0 in the House, and the governor should have a big pomp and ceremony, signing a ceremony. I hope. Is that too much to hope?
You're right, Chuck. And, this is one of the examples, despite all of the contentious issues that get the focus in Harrisburg, there is a lot of good, solid bipartisan work that occurs through both chambers and through the administration. There are those times where we recognize there are public safety, public health matters that we must deal with. And this is a good example. So I'm confident that we can work these through the process in a pretty collaborative, bipartisan manner.
Well, that's good to hear. And I'll end with this, that since we're in the spirit of bipartisanship in this holiday season and folks coming together, I just got a call from our Lieutenant Governor Austin Davis the other day. And it was funny, we were laughing on the phone. He's been on the show about, we're able to focus on the 40% of stuff we agree on and talk about, and the 60% we vehemently disagree about and still be friends. I mean, I know Austin when he was chief of staff to Rich Fitzgerald, the longtime county executive of Allegheny, who was a very good friend of mine, and that's how I became friends with Austin. So it's good to hear. We need to keep reminding people that responsible government work can be done by true public servants and put the partisanship and the demonizing of the opponent away and work toward the betterment of Pennsylvania. You've just demonstrated that with getting a compromise with the governor and with the Democratic House. They got things they needed. They got more money for public schooling, funding, and things they were pet peeves, big issues for them. And you got rid of Reggie. So a good way to go into Thanksgiving season. Mr. Leader and my friend Joe Pittman, thank you for joining us today and lending your wisdom and insight. And of course, my good friend sitting right here, Lisa Baker, Senator Baker, who I see a lot more than you. Unfortunately, because I live here, I don't get out west as much, but looking forward to getting together with you as well, Joe, soon.
Thank you, Chuck. A lot to be thankful for.
Happy Thanksgiving, Joe, to you and your family, and Lisa, to you and yours.
Thank you.
And again, we're here on the Volpe Report. I should look at this. Thank you for joining us on a show that will run Thanksgiving weekend, and hopefully you'll have a break from the holiday shopping. Thank you both again.